Hey there, my name is Christian Verwijs, and I'm one of the creators of the Scrum Team Survey. And in this short video, I will show you how you can invite your team members, stakeholders, and supporters to also participate in the questionnaire for your team. Now, it's really important that you do this because if it's just your own answers, then basically the perspective on how your team is doing is based on the opinions and experiences of one person, which is you. That can already give some useful information, but your perspective might be biased, and it probably is because we're all biased in one way or another. What's a really good idea is to invite other people from your team to also enter the questionnaire so that you can calculate sort of an average score of how things are going. But it's also a good idea to invite stakeholders who ultimately are the people that are benefiting from what you're creating as a team. And these could be users or customers or other kinds of internal stakeholders. But what's important is that they really have a stake in what you're creating as a team. So if your team is building the wrong things or building it in a wrong way, or if it's very buggy and low quality, they should be the people that are experiencing just how it's not useful to them. So it's important to pick the right stakeholders. But the nice thing is that if they give their perspective, it's a good way to see if how you're doing as a team, what's going well, but also what you can improve over time. And then we have the supporters, which are the people that are around your team that are there to help you. And usually these are managers or people in a leadership position, but it could also be coaches, internal or external coaches, or people around your team that are there to support you. Now, what I'm sharing right now in my screen is a team report, which is what you get when you participate in the questionnaire. And the team report also shows you the participants. And in this case, I've picked a demo team that already has 4 stakeholders, 4 team members, and 4 supporters. You can also see this in the results because for responsiveness, we have data from 3 team members, 4 stakeholders, and also we have a couple of supporters that gave answers. The markers actually indicate that, and you can expand this to see the lower order factors. And as you can see, and I'll also expand this one, as you can see, team members give their perspective on release automation, refinement, release frequency, but we ask stakeholders slightly different questions because they probably don't know if you're using release automation and what it looks like. So instead, what we ask them is, how satisfied are you with the release frequency of this team, which is an indicator of responsiveness. And when it comes to continuous improvement, we ask teams a lot of questions about aspects of continuous improvement. So is the team psychological safety high? Is there a learning environment? Are there high quality retrospectives? Stakeholders, we ask a different question. We ask to what extent are you satisfied with the quality of what this team produces? Because quality is one of those bars that you aim for in your continuous improvement process. So this is what we ask stakeholders. And supporters, we don't ask supporters to evaluate your team. Instead, what we ask them to do is evaluate their own level of support for you as a team. And we ask teams the same questions, but the other way around. So in this case, excuse me, in this case, you can see that the score for supporting leadership for leaders. You can see the agile benefits. And you can also see the support for team autonomy that teams are receiving from supporters and that supporters are believing they're giving. So these are basically the perspectives of supporters in how they are supporting you as a team and the experience of the team and how they're being supported by supporters. Now, obviously, there are more ways to drill into that. You can also go to insights and then click on any of the factors and see the breakdown here. Score for stakeholders and team members, or we're talking about management support. You can click here, see the supporter score, team member score. So basically, the core message is make sure to invite your stakeholders and supporters because they will give you a much more complete picture of what's going on. And it's also super helpful to just involve them in this process because stakeholders are there to benefit from your improvements. So if you can improve with their help, then they will benefit from it. And the same goes for supporters. If supporters can better modulate the level of support they're giving you as a team to help you where you actually need it, you will become more effective, and that's beneficial for supporters. So it's ultimately all in their interest, just the same. So how do you invite your team members? There are two ways, and one of those is the free version, and one of those is the version that's that requires a subscription, which I will show you in a minute. So you can see here in the free version in the team report the participants, and you also see these 3 links. These are the links you have to share with the different groups to allow them to participate in the questionnaires that are designed for them. So team members get a different questionnaire than stakeholders and supporters. For team members, it's a bit longer because we have many more areas we want to cover. Stakeholders, I think it's about 15 questions, and supporters, it's about the same. So these are quite short questionnaires. You can share the link by clicking this icon, and then the link is copied to your clipboard, and you can paste it in Slack or in an email or in whatever way makes sense in your organization. What's really important when you invite people is that you announce beforehand that this is what's going to happen. The worst thing you can do is just send people a link with an invitation to a questionnaire without giving people any kind of context. Why are you doing this? How will the results be used? How will it be used to benefit also the people that you're asking to participate? So before you actually start inviting people, make sure to announce and inform people as to why you're doing this in the first place. One way it could be to explain that you're doing a questionnaire to get a sense of how things are going, and that you will use the results from the questionnaire to organize a workshop where everyone's invited to participate. And then you will together look at the data and identify improvement actions. And then maybe a few months down the road, you will do it again so that you can see if things actually improved. Now, we give you a lot of examples of how to invite people, and you can find a link, for example, over here in the interpret the results together. There's a workshop behind that link that you can download, and it also contains a lot of ways to invite your team and stakeholders and supporters and to inform them about what's going to happen. In general, I also would recommend to make this a shared decision. So don't decide for a team that they're going to do the questionnaire. Decide as a team that this is something you want to do, because the worst thing you can do is push this onto people who are not asking for it. You really need to make sure that people are buying into this. You want to do this together. You also have to realize that a tool like this creates transparency. And that transparency is nice because it can show you what's going well, but it can also show you what's not going so well. And that can be painful, and that can be something that people may want to avoid, particularly if they feel that the results are used for the wrong reasons. So make sure to emphasize that you're using the data to learn together as a team, not to evaluate, not to judge, but to see where you can actually improve. And that everyone should feel comfortable doing it. And if that's not the case, then first make sure that people feel comfortable with it and then do the questionnaire. So that's just a sort of preface before you start inviting people. And it's unfortunately something we see going wrong quite often, because it's something that maybe most of us are not really used to. How do you set up a questionnaire and invite people properly? But once you've done that, you can share these links, and then people can basically participate. Every time someone participates, we'll send you as the starter or the person who started the snapshot an email to notify them that someone participated. If you have a subscription, you can also keep track of it in the team dashboard, or you can just go to the team report periodically to see new participants. So that's one way to keep track of that. So basically, that's the process to invite your team members, your stakeholders, and your supporters. I will now show you the version that's available with the subscription. So let's go to the team dashboard. In the team dashboard, you can see the results from multiple teams together, because the idea of the team dashboard is that we want to make it easier to drive improvements across multiple teams. So in this case, we're seeing 4 teams. Now for Liberator's demo team, which is the team that I was just showing you the report of, we can also see the 3 snapshots. There's a baseline on October 2. There was a measurement on January the 3rd and one on April the 4th. And you can actually click on the icon here to see who participated and when they started, when they completed it. And so there's a bit of information there about the snapshot. But you can also take a new survey, and that's what I want to show you in this case. So you can simply click on new survey, and then you can add a personal note, which could be sort of a reiteration of why you're doing this. We're also, of course, emphasizing this over here, but this is basically a personal note from you to people that you're inviting. You can provide an estimate of how many people you think will be participating, which allows us to sort of give you a progress tracker. And it's not a hard limit, it's just a general sense of how many people are going to be there. And you can ask, you can either let us invite everyone, or you can do it yourself later with the links that I shared with you earlier. But let's do it now. And in this case, you can actually enter a couple of email addresses, which I won't do right now because I don't want to email people, but let's say info@centralwijs.nl, and that's a team member. I'll add it, and there is a stakeholder, and that's a stakeholder over there. We can actually also add a supporter. And once I click Start Survey, it will actually invite these people to participate. And that will just be an email with your personal note in it and with a link to the relevant questionnaire for them. And then basically it will look a bit like this. You will see in the snapshot all the people that you invited and if they already completed the survey or not. And you can also add more people. So if you come up with new stakeholders or supporters you would like to invite, or if new team members join, you can just add their email address here and they will be added to the list. And below here, we also have the links that you can use if you want to do it yourself. And then again, you can just copy it and paste it into Slack or an email. So the team dashboard makes it easier to invite participants. In the team dashboard, you can also close a questionnaire, which means that people can no longer participate, even if they have the link somewhere, which is not something that's possible in the free version. But in general, the team dashboard is really useful if you're working with multiple teams, or if you are really serious about driving change over a longer period of time. But there are other videos where we give you more background on this. For now, what I want to wish you is good luck with improving and most of all, inviting as many team members, stakeholders, and supporters as you can, because it will lead to a more accurate picture. Enjoy. Bye-bye.